There are a number of things that ICAZ and CA are doing in order to make this accessible. So first of all, I'll say from the organization that I come from, we've got a purpose to provide high quality, accessible and affordable education solutions. So I'll talk to accessibility from that perspective on two areas. The how the learning happens. So we have modeled a full-time and a part-time program. So we started with a part-time program. Why? Which is taught on a blended. So blended meaning virtual learning. So when you say virtual learning, we mean someone can actually have live interaction with the lecturer. So that's virtual learning. Live, it's not online. Online is also on top. So when you say that, so there's that blending, meaning to achieve one of my dreams, to have being a young man come here and get a certificate, it means with technology, we should be able they should be able to get into a lecture virtually, as long as internet and they have a device. And then they can also learn online. Therefore, what we call my CAA, where the material and so forth is added on there. Assessments, from where we sit, assessments or examinations, we are also putting some of that online, meaning you can actually do your assessment and it's actually graded also online. We still have not been, both from as a tuition provider and I think for the institute, for what we call final assessment or summative exams. Those are still not yet fully online. They have to be controlled for the integrity. But for that to happen, both from as a tuition provider and ICAZ, we use what we call exam centers across the country. So you'll find that there's an exam center in Blawayo, and sometimes we use our members. I know in Shishawane, we use our ICAZ members at Mimosa, and we get a boardroom and actually invigilate, meaning we are reaching out there where people are. Accessibility is also an issue of funding. So we've talked about the how. Accessibility, if something's affordable, it also then talks to. So we've tried both ICAZ and CA to make the tuition as reasonable as possible because we believe it's a need more than a luxury. And we are also making it that it happens, we're trying to push that it happens while somebody's working, meaning employers can help pick the bill and support because what you learn is what you implement. That does help. We are also working on possible future funding for students that definitely do not have funding support. And I think that answers accessibility. I think it has been talked from the ministry. It has been talked from the I think the president and from the CAMD. Now, where is the need? The need is with the employer. They're the ones who want certain skills and competencies. So the first thing that we did is to go and understand, and I'll just take a step back to say these competencies or these qualifications were derived from the main ICAZ qualification. And in 2018, when that competence framework was built, it came here, we brought industry, we brought all the stakeholders, and we built those competencies. Unfortunately, all those competencies cannot be taught only at the top, towards the end. There are competencies that are also job specific, meaning at entry level as a clerk, you need certain competencies at the middle edge. And so we started with the end. We started with the employer's needs. So the employers were involved from design. How as well? Definitely talking to HR people, the human resource, to also understand. And that's why from a design, we brought out the competencies. So in other words, we are saying, as these people come out, this is what they can give you. So these are the competencies as you asked for and for what you need in your employment. Okay. The third pillar is affordability. We are looking to give the employers what we call fit-for-purpose professionals. So with only the CA, and you needed a clerk, you're not so sure, could you hire a CA to do clerical work or to do middle manager work, right? So in other words, we are setting a solution to the employers to have professionals that are competent, that are fit for purpose and affordable. Not only that, this is also very critical for informalizing economy, where the businesses are becoming smaller, who cannot all afford the highest level of qualification. So it means all those employers have got now accountants that they can afford, unlike before. So can you see the whole discussion, the focus, the employer was at the center of this.
Question is, for someone with an accounting degree, which route would you recommend for the person to take? Going the CTA route or the GAZ route?
How old is that?
2 years.
Key question, which we've asked, how old? So I want to pin up something very important. All qualifications, ICAZ qualifications, are underpinned by the International Education Standards Board, or the International Education Standards. In the International Education Standards 1, one of the key pillars or principles which we should abide by is not to put people in a program that they cannot pass. We call it academic fraud. Why? Because you've put someone and you've taken money, but they're not set for that. So when we ask about how old, if your degree is a little bit older, the GA is good for you to clean up and be ready for CTA and going up into the CA. That's quite important. If your degree is 3 years or less, and I'm sure there's also a 2.1, it has to be a 2.1 or better, a GPA, right? You can come into CTA, right? Now, let's understand why the 3 qualifications. We're saying it's a journey, and it's a personal journey, right? Which says we can't just go at the top. Sometimes we have to what? Okay, so the CTA, add degree into CTA into CA, that route is there, right? But if one feels, I want to go into this one and start and be working and be recognized as a professional, I can do that. When the time is right, when the money is right, I can then move over to the CTA. Because probably sometimes just after finishing, your parents are saying, but we need some money, you need to be contributing. So the GA in a year helps you. So we're giving options, gives you that option. So I could do this one. I've not lost because I've now cemented. And I can now start working. On working, I'm already earning my articles, my experience. When the time is right, I can then what? Proceed. Because probably money is an issue at day one. To say I'm now going for CTA, then IAC, and it may be an issue. So it's an option. So, but for an accounting, you said the personal consideration, the age of your degree, and the accreditation of your degree as well, to say how strong is it for CTA, which is very important. So in other words, this is a platform that can clean you, that can make your success. I would like to give you, we've got a BCTA, which is standing side by side by the GA. The BCTA students are getting into 90% after they do their BCTA LCA. We've got a 90% pass rate from IAC or ITC to the final board exam. Why? Because they've been taught with the professional CA at the end, in end. So that's an opportunity for you. Yeah.
Okay. So there's an emphasis of this program meeting international standards.
Thank you.
Right. So how have you ensured the quality while making education more inclusive?
Lovely. So first of all, these programs or qualifications are aligned to the International Education Standards Board. That's why there is the professional examination. So you just don't go and do modules and you're done. You still have got a certificate of competence with ICAZ where they test you and say, so that's a requirement. The second is articles. So this is not a degree, it's a professional applied competence. You have to say, if you learn debit and credit, you have to go and apply and be able to balance within a manual or an IT environment and actually do that. And that's when we give you the qualification. So how have we managed to make it a benchmark? So that's the first pillar of benchmarking, complying with the International Education Standards Board. The second part is we've also looked at others who have the same. So I'll go down South Africa. We learned and worked very closely with South Africa, who also have an AT and an AGA qualification. And we mirrored and connected at that level. So which means if you go to South Africa right now and say I have an AT, they recognize that. You have an AGA, they recognize that. We have what other countries that case studies that we worked with as well. New Zealand, Australia and New Zealand, they have the same. England and Wales have the same. And we used a number and borrowed a number of things to come up with this from all those, right? The key issue for us is that it becomes a global qualification. We know Zimbabweans are very mobile. So if you go where you go, ICAS recognizes with many mutual recognitions across the world, you would be able to be speaking the same language. And even also on the naming conventions, we probably try to name them in such a way that people can get confused to say, what is this? The way it's been named. So New Zealand, Australia and New Zealand, England and Wales, South Africa. South Africa has got the, and so I would say South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Namibia has got the best CA in the world. And the IFAC, International Education Standards, was used to develop this. So that's the global connection there. Yeah.